Hey everybody, it's Corey from Thought Soldiers. So today I wanted to do a little update about kind of what happened through the Lionsgate portal from 8/8 to 8/11, kind of what the full moon energies are bringing about and what we can look forward to for the rest of the month for the collective of those that resonate with these videos and resonate with this message. So the Lionsgate portal to me was a huge galactivation, especially with that Sirius star energy coming in. It was a time for me to really understand and come to remember who I am, to see my roots, to meet things from the other side and be able to, the veil was so thin I was able to see into areas and realms that I've never been able to see into before, or I've been able to just barely scratch the surface and see into, and they really opened themselves up to me and let me know exactly who I am, where they're at, and that they're always around me supporting me. So as many of you know, that I did post pictures about, and I was going to post videos doing light language at every one of the sites I did, but Spirit told me not to, and to kind of just really do this journey for myself. I did some grid work along the 33rd parallel, moving from my hometown in San Diego out to Texas now, where I'm at currently. And it was a very interesting time. It was something that I'm glad I didn't document because it was very personal. It was more of an initiation. And that was kind of the big theme about this Lionsgate Portal 2 was it was a time of initiation. It was a time of not only remembrance, but stepping further into our destiny and calling in our galactic origins. It was a very galactic time, especially with the Sirius star energy coming about, truly remembering who we are if you have starseed genetics. Some of us were told our lineages, or we discovered our lineages. That was what happened with me. I know where I'm from. I know who I am now. And I was able to get some information regarding who I am that was further confirmation, just based on who I am naturally, the kind of characteristics I have. And it was definitely a beautiful time. I'm not going to share the genetics right now just because it's a personal thing, and there was a lot of self-discovery that I'm kind of keeping to myself, and that was a big realization, especially with how much of an open book I am, because I love sharing my journey and being raw and vulnerable with everybody. But it was really a time to honor the treasure of who we are and being able to hold it within ourselves, and not be so free to open up about it, using a new level of discernment, especially when it comes down to what's going on in the world, especially when it comes down to sensitivity too. A lot of my gifts have been expanding and growing, especially doing the grid work along the 33rd parallel on the way out here. It got to be so, I was so sensitive, and I was channeling every one of the sites, channeling Gaia, talking to Native American ancestors, and it got to a point where, I chose to, it was some of the information I learned about myself and kind of what's going on. I chose to keep that to myself, just because, it's my treasure, and it's for me to know. And I do know that it is a part of man's history to, if we look at certain species of animals that have become extinct because man has, come in and started to do experiments on them, or, they started to hold them into captivity. That was kind of the big realization of some of our starseed origins and genetics, is that, there is still a fear component that I'm clearing right now with when it is discovered and proven that we are real, and this isn't all just made up in our imagination. What man could potentially do to start, doing tests on us to figure out our genetics, figure out our DNA, and a way to monetize it, and a way to, gene splicing, things like that. That's kind of what came to the forefront, and I don't want to throw out fear into there, but that was, a big kind of realization, and so I choose to keep that stuff to myself. So anyways, back on track. Clearing the 33rd parallel was very interesting. A lot of people were called to do grid work through this time. I've seen a mass amount of videos of people talking about grid work, and it is no light undertaking depending on the level and the degree of grid work that you're doing. For me, I landed in Texas on the 11th, and I'm still catching up with all the codes that were anchored, all the work that was done, collapsing and clearing timelines, closing portals, especially along the 33rd parallel. There was a lot of darkness that happened along the 33rd parallel. So, when we look at like the creation of the atomic bomb in Los Alamos. The first 2 nuclear bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is not along the 33rd in the United States, but going further east. There was a lot of stuff that I was clearing along when I was riding the 40 through New Mexico. That whole trip was just timeline collapsing, clearing, closing down negative timelines, transmutation. And it was very heavy on my system. And the other thing too was pulling down these codes. So at every one of the stops, there was kind of a routine that me and my travel buddy did, where we would stop for breakfast. And as we did, we could feel ourselves being lifted up into, we were going up from above 5D. So spirit was pulling us up into, 11, 12, and then anchoring those codes down. And that stretching does a lot to the system and will cause you to clear a lot out really fast. So it's taken a lot of time to kind of get my body back in balance, to get my sleep cycles back in balance, and to also fully integrate the downloads that I got from the experience. And that's what a part of this collectivation was, especially if you're doing grid work, is that you are always gifted when you are helping out the universe in one way, shape, or form. And so a lot of that is coming in the form of downloads, in clearing, things of that nature, which requires, especially when we are being stretched into those higher realms and pulled back down, a lot of that jumping and wobbling that is very dramatic, takes a toll on our system. And especially if we're having to clear out programming in order to anchor those codes in fully, and our body is not in a fully alkaline state, it can do a lot to us. And so that was the biggest part of dealing with this 8/8 energy that arrived. And even now, this full moon energy is now a deeper level of clearing. So since since the Lion's Gate, in the remembrance of who I am, in the initiation period, and now a new level unlocked of my destiny and my path and my mission and in my purpose, this full moon has been a call to really find my self-worth and to take my power back and to do a deeper level of clearing in order to fully integrate these codes so I could be able to get to the next phase of my development. So for me, the Lionsgate portal was kind of like the swim to the next platform, and now is this kind of resting and integration period for right now and for the rest of the month to fully integrate the codes that were activated during the grid work, during the meditations, during the ceremonies that I was involved in, and really fully integrating so I can start to embody this new level of not only my starseed origins and what I'm called to do, but my multidimensionality, which once you start to peer into those realms and start to jump around and start to access different timelines, multiple times during the day, it can get a little weird. It can definitely get a little strange. But the nice thing was that it was a very gentle approach into letting me know about the truth of who I am and about, interdimensionality and multidimensionality. And, it's still a very strange topic to talk about because the changes are so subtle. It's not something like all of a sudden I wake up and there's, spacecraft and things like that. It's just that you can feel that you're not in the same place you were, about 10 to 15 minutes prior. There was a lot of heavy deja vu spells that would trigger jumping onto timelines, and I did actually have one moment where I jumped onto a traumatic timeline where something extremely disastrous happened, and I got to clear that space right when it happened. And so there was a moment of like 30-second deja vu and immediate fear and panic. What went down, what went down, and that'll just stay where it is. And I was able to clear it and then be able to quickly move out of that timeline as fast as possible. And so that was a little freaky too, and that's something that a lot of us go through and we don't know we're going through it. So if that's something you've experienced before, feel free to reach out to me about it, and I can give you a little bit more information on what it's like to access those lower timelines and to clear out traumatic events as they happen. So anyway, moving on, a lot of remembrance too of the masculine and the wartime scenario. So the masculines have been battling their entire lives when it comes down to historical events, things like that, but this is more in the discovery of the astral wars and the things that go on in the remembrance of the fighting that's been going on. And so a lot of this wartime battle scenario has been happening in Dreamscape, in the astrals. It's stuff that you can feel energetically happening while you are coexisting on this denser plane. You feel like something's going on, like you're being attacked. You feel the heavy body pressure, heavy trauma, fears, things like that. But you look around, there's nothing really going on, and it's the remembrance that some of us have been dropped into a war, that were dropped into battles. Whether it be, there's multiple ways of looking at this. It could be remembering past lives. It could be accessing parallel timelines. It could be astral wars going on. Regardless of what it is, it's the masculine's remembrance of the battles that we've had to fight to get to where we're at, and our conscious decision, our free will choice to no longer fight. That we don't have to go to war anymore. These things are happening, and we can kind of pick and choose our battles, and we can choose to fight with love. And that just means, honoring and loving things unconditionally, and putting our dukes down, because the wars don't have to continue, even though they still go on and still may go on for many, many eons to come. We can consciously choose not to engage in them, by picking our battles, and by choosing to just embed as much love and light into those scenarios as possible, whether it be here in this realm with our family members, with other people, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our truth, things like that. We don't need to fight anymore. It's been a pattern that has been going on for lifetimes. Lord knows if we're going to ever be able to fully break that pattern. But I know for me, it's been a conscious choice to no longer engage in those fights anymore, because I just don't want to fight. I'm tired. I'm very tired. Energetically, fighting is not fun. Fighting society is not fun. And so just choosing to align with love or above frequency, and choosing to live in that state and just love everything unconditionally, and to stop that discordant behavior, so we can invite in more loving energies and really change the masculine approach to how we've been handling scenarios for a very long time. Especially collectively right now, we've got a lot in the United States going on politically, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But that's kind of what's fueling for me this want to just love and to appreciate and to forgive everything that my ancestors have done, to forgive everything my family's done, to forgive myself and forgive others, and to really fully embody that, so we can all begin to heal collectively. And I realize it all starts with me. And as I radiate that outwards, I give someone else an opportunity to embody that forgiveness and be able to pass that on down through the generations, through the line, through the lineage, in order to try to correct the patterns of behaviors of what the masculine has done on Earth for a very, very, very long time. So with this increased sensitivity, you may be feeling your area more. And it's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse. But if you start to feel off during this time, you're picking up energies of your partners, of your loved ones, picking up energies of the land, the collective energy. Make sure to tune in and ask if this is yours or not, and then you can make a conscious decision whether or not you want to take it on or not. And remember that you're no longer a martyr. You are an empowered spiritual being. You can choose whether or not you want to take on that energy or not. And so that's been the biggest call, is to tune back into you, and to make sure that you aren't taking on things that you don't want to take on. So for me, when I was doing the grid work and I was channeling Gaia and I was channeling these sites and talking to ancestors, Native American ancestors especially, about how man has kind of raped and pillaged not only their people but Mother Earth itself, I consciously chose to feel those things because it helped me to become a more well-rounded spirit in really understanding the process of what man has done, so I can change my behavior in order to and to better serve not only my people but to better serve the land, and to try to embody a new archetype, kind of a new characteristic, to be able to change this pattern once again of raping and pillaging Mother Gaia. And so I chose consciously to tune into the land, and it's taken a few days to really tune back in and ground into who I am. And it's been a big learning process, especially since a lot of us are being led by spirit in the teachings and in the evolution of this. And a lot of us don't have psychic teachers. That's me for sure. I can't afford it. If I could, I would. And so a lot of this is just trial and error and spirit teaching me what to do. And a lot of the teachings now are happening in Dreamscape. So it's nice to have the switch from the astral fighting and the dream wars to now let it be a schooling time to learn about energies, to learn about how energy works, to learn about the process of self-discovery, and how to fully integrate the codes that I grabbed during this trip, and to let them anchor in so I could become the best, greatest version of myself. And so now onto the full moon right now. The full moon, once again, as I had mentioned before, is a call to really take our power back and to find our self-worth and to really fully love who we are. There may be a lot of deep-seated anger coming to the surface of old traumas or familial patterns. There may be a lot of self-worth issues coming up, and confidence issues, even things being casted upon us by our partners or by our family in order to trigger an emotional response within us, to be able to illuminate those aspects that need to be healed, because it's time to fully stand in our power once again. Has been a common theme for 2019 as we're stepping into 2020, is to take our power back and to really stand in our empowered sovereign right to be a spiritual being in a human body, and in order to live our lives fully aligned with our highest ideal, fully aligned with our soul, fully aligned with our higher selves, fully aligned with our hearts, with what we want, in order to let the universe bring these things in. And so as we are doing this self-worth and self-discovery thing and finding our natural imprint, we're also calling in our soul tribe. Once again, another common theme, calling in our people, our tribe, our community, in order to work alongside one another towards building a better world. And I know that there's a lot of codes have been anchored in to really anchor in the fifth dimensional experience here on Earth as the timeline split is occurring, and it feels like we're getting closer and closer and closer to fully embodying that 5D right now. And that's kind of how it's been for me, losing track of time, not really knowing what day it is. Really a more fulfilled experience by living a simpler life. So, the grandiosity doesn't come in where there's a lot of, it's not like I'm being showered with gifts and showered with presents. My needs are met 110% and above and beyond that. And I have the opportunity to really fully just kind of breathe after this transition on the Rainbow Bridge, landing into 5D and into a fifth dimensional awareness. And especially if you land somewhere where you are able to fully embody 5D, you may be pulling up the people in your area too to be able to kind of walk alongside you on this timeline, which can cause a lot of physical body symptoms as you are pulling other people up. So like for me here at home, I'm really pulling up my family right now. I moved back in with my mom and dad in this here RV in Texas, and temporarily. And so, I'm really tired because I'm trying to pull them up, but they're ready. Their knowledge is expanded, their consciousness is expanding, and it may take a while, but I'm helping to kind of facilitate that process, and it's something I'm consciously choosing to do because they've done a lot for me, and I'd love to be able to do that for them, is to let them live the rest of their lives in 5D, happily and free. So a lot of this is, once again, under this full moon, is just taking our power back. And so give yourself time. If you're feeling really, really tired, or you're being called to eat a lot of junk food, or kind of resort to old habits when it comes to eating, things like that, it's okay. Give yourself the okay. Honor your body and what your soul needs, especially as we are grounding in a lot of these codes. But remember, if you start to overindulge and you feel wacky or wonky, pull it back. Really, for me, I'm trying to focus on body cleanses right now, detoxes. I'm trying to align my diet better, especially since I've been eating like crap since I came out here, because I need my comfort foods and things like that in order to to adjust to the new home and the new life. So just honor what your body needs. You're not any less spiritual to me if you're eating red meat, or you're choosing to have a candy bar, have an energy drink, smoke a cigarette, drink some alcohol, smoke some weed, whatever you want to do, you're not any less spiritual. And so that's the other thing too, is that when it comes down to this journey, it's a matter of removing everyone's expectations of what it is to be spiritual and honoring what your soul needs in order to live a spiritual experience. So for me, I still smoke cigarettes. I drink energy drinks. I will eat meat on occasion. I love candy. I love cussing. Does it make me any less spiritual? No, because that is some weird new age agenda that someone in their right mind thought that the only way that you could be spiritual is by doing yoga and being vegan, which is complete bullshit. I know many people that eat donuts and eat meat that are way more spiritual than a lot of these people that pretend to be based on their yoga and vegan diets. Not dissing it at all. I wish I could be 100% vegan right now, but I can't. I wish I could do yoga more, but I can't. So this isn't a call to diss any of those people, but it's really, I made that clear because there's a lot of stigma in the spiritual community that you have to live a certain way when it comes to food and diet and things like that, which, you know what, I'll tell you this. When it comes to anchoring these codes and getting your body into an alkaline state, things of that nature, yes, there is a rule that you have to live by. But the biggest thing, though, too, is soul nourishment. So when it comes down to it, you do need your body in a certain state in order to ease the transition process towards activating your crystalline body and your light body, and towards the DNA activations and embodying the codes. But when it comes down to it, everyone's body is different. And as you're going through these changes and these activations, especially a lot of the galactivations, the starseed genetic stuff, you're going to be pulled into different directions. And especially if you've experienced a walk-in at any point in your life, or you have recently experienced a walk-in, you may be craving things differently because you're adjusting. These energies cause us to have to really kind of fine-tune what we need at certain times in order to really anchor in what we need code-wise as we are pulling down these 12D codes and anchoring in fifth dimensional consciousness here on Earth, and also what your body needs as it is activating and growing and expanding. So being called to things like a lot of sugar, a lot of heavy fats, maybe more meat products, it's okay. Whatever your soul wants, your soul needs, and everyone's journey is different. So there may be someone who's on a flexitarian diet, there may be someone who's on a vegan diet, there may be someone who's running 8 miles a day, there may be a couch potato that's eating donuts, that they're all on the same journey. Their body just needs different things in order to survive and to adapt. And that's part of taking our power back, is really living our spiritual experience and not someone else's spiritual experience, because this whole soul alignment and soul journey process is about living our experience and not someone else's. And that's taking our power back. And so throughout the rest of August, it really feels like it's going to be an integration time. And the message that came through is, you know what to do. So when it comes down to the mastery of anchoring in these codes, things like that, it's a really call to go within, to trust our intuition, which means going within to get the answers. There's nothing wrong with going to a reader or talking to another individual about, trying to get confirmation. But if you are seeking from an external source some sort of validation for what spirit is already telling you, you're kind of asking for the okay. You're asking for the right to do something when spirit and your soul already knows what to do. And that's what this mastery level is about when it comes to integration and taking our power back, is you know what to do. All you have to do is listen and follow. And if fear comes up, it's okay, because fear is a natural part of this process. We're still humans. We still feel polarity. So we're going to go through fear periods. We're going to go through faith periods. We're going to feel everything on the spectrum as far as frequency is concerned in relation to emotion. And so if you are feeling fear as you are starting to own your truth and step onto your path, and you're doubting yourself, it's actually a really good sign. Because as soon as I made the transition that I'm in now, on the platform that I'm on, I faced a lot of fear, I faced a lot of uncertainty and a lot of doubt, and I had to remember that living in fifth dimensional consciousness requires me to expect the unexpected. It requires me to expect miracles. It requires me to realize that patterns are no longer going to exist. And since I've healed old timelines and cleared old timelines, old patterns of behavior, karma, things of that nature, those patterns aren't going to keep repeating, because I have consciously chosen to take steps and to make decisions based on free will and based on my spiritual belief and following my intuition that have aligned me with a timeline where those things are no longer going to happen. And so there may be some things popping to the surface where you're thinking, oh, this happened before, so it's going to happen this way. I'm heading into this new venture and I don't know what's going to happen. Well, 5D is about expecting the unexpected, letting miracles happen, and letting things work into our favor. If we are used to, especially those that have faced a lot of trauma, a lot of doubt, a lot of abandonment things growing up, a lot of alone time, especially if you are a gatekeeper and have really been through the thick of it in order to land you where you're at today, expect miracles to happen. That's the only thing you got to expect. You got to expect everything to work out in your favor. And you may not exactly know how at that point in time it's going to, but it always will. And that's what this journey has really taught me. Was I finally found a fully aligned spot for me to land in. All I had to do was say yes. And that potentiality opened, that portal opened, and I walked through with faith, and things unfolded beautifully along the journey. And even the things that went wrong were actually completely perfect the way they are. And that was the big realization, is that there is no wrong move when you are living your soul journey, because your soul is going to call in every experience it needs in order to fully grow and expand, evolve, and get to the level where you are complete, whole, and happy with your choices and your destiny. And so even if you feel like you made a wrong choice in life, it's actually a completely right choice. And it really sometimes takes getting out of that situation, or putting some time in between you and that last decision, in order to really see why that decision landed you where you're at today, whether it be good or bad, based on the learning lessons that you signed up to be able to go through on your spiritual path and your spiritual journey. And so, guys, take time to relax, integrate, enjoy the energies, play with your universe, and really step into who you are. If you're being called to do things like light language, or get on YouTube, or to share your message, or to help another individual, to learn that new healing modality, to start writing, to start playing music again, just do it. Fear is just fear. That's all it is. A lot of us will succumb to it, including myself, a lot. I face fear and I cripple within it. But the biggest thing is to roll into the resistance. And so if there is resistance, roll into it and expect the unexpected. We're now living with new energies now. These old cycles and these old patterns aren't going to play out the way they used to. And you are now connected to Source. And when you're connected to Source and you are living aligned with your mission to be able to help out humanity, to help out Gaia, to help out the galactics, whatever your soul mission is, those things aren't going to play out anymore. Source isn't going to let that happen to you. So remember that. Whatever you believe in, whether it's Source, God, Muhammad, whatever the heck you believe in, that thing you believe in is not going to allow those negative timelines and those negative circumstances to happen to you anymore. So stay connected, stay open to receiving, integrate as much as possible. If you need to rest, align with your soul, align with your heart, align with your intuition. Say yes to those experiences that you'd normally say no. If your mind is telling you no and your soul is saying yes, say yes, and be open to the opportunities that arrive, and expect miracles to happen. So guys, that was a really long video. A lot I wanted to talk about in a little bit of just kind of non-linear rambling. So guys, much love and respect to everybody out in the Webiverse. Since I'm now full-time here in Texas, don't need to work right now other than doing my mission stuff. My calendar hours, so my hours for Reiki and coachings, have now extended. So the tough time before was that I was very limited on my hours because I was working. But now that I'm back to doing this full time, my calendar hours are open from 9 a.m. Central to 9 p.m. Central. So I've got 12 hours a day. I'm open from 9 to 9. And if you guys need Reiki or coaching, check out my calendar. Links are in the description box for everything. Definitely would love to work with you if you guys are open to it. If you need any guidance, please feel free to reach out. Anyways, much love and respect to everybody out in the Webiverse. Hope everyone had a safe and wonderful 8/8 Lionsgate portal. Expect more light language to come up soon too. I'm actually going to do a light language video for integrating these energies in a little bit, and we'll post that tonight. And that's all I got. So much love and respect to everybody out in the Webverse, and I will see you on the other side. Namaste.